Hello, everyone. I'm your town administrator here in Yarmouth, Robert Rittenauer, here with another town meeting roundup. Before we get to our special town meeting warrant, we've got a very busy season coming up for municipal affairs here in Yarmouth, and we want to make sure that everyone's tied into all of this activity and participates strongly. We really depend on the residents of our town giving us direction and firm leadership here. And I want to today go over, we have on Tuesday, November 19 at 6 p.m., a special town meeting, and that is scheduled for our intermediate school on Station Avenue, 6 p.m. again, and we hope residents come out and attend that. And we're going this afternoon to go over the warrant for our special town meeting, but also make some notes that we have on Saturday, December 7, a special election for the seat of Board of Selectmen here in Yarmouth, the normal polling hours. Please check our website to make sure that you've got the right polling place and come out to vote December 7 for Select Board, Town of Yarmouth. And on Monday, December 9, we have another special town meeting. I'll be producing another video that goes over the detail on that. It may be a little bit shorter of a town meeting, but please mark your calendars. Monday, December 9, 2024, special town meeting, 6 p.m., and that, again, is going to be at the intermediate school out on Station Avenue. So today we're preparing for our special town meeting, which is the fall town meeting. Generally, we hold every year for a lot of the cleanup business that comes after the start of the new fiscal year, but before we get the budget wrapped up for our annual town meeting, which is held in April. So the November special town meeting is generally a little shorter than the annual town meeting. A lot of cleanup items we need to take care of in advance of the budget process. So it still is very important, and we need your help coming out, giving us direction, and taking those important votes. Now, again, November 19, the special town meeting in the fall, is a little shorter. We have a total of only 14 articles. And what I'd like to do today is to just go through each and every one of those articles so that you can see what the detail of it is. And any questions, please check out the town's website. We have the town warrant laid out there for you. And you can contact me at the town hall anytime to go over any questions on any of the town meeting items. So with that, we'll jump right into what we have for our special town meeting warrant for November 19, 2024. And it starts off with Article 1, which is our OPEB transfer. And everyone always asks me, what is OPEB and why are we transferring money for it? Well, in this case, we'll be transferring $1,200,000 from free cash to our OPEB trust account. Now, OPEB stands for Other Post-Employment Benefits. This is the unfunded liability that are faced by communities across the nation for the future cost of health insurance for future retirees. These are the employees that work for the jurisdictions currently now. After they retire, towns have to continue to pay a portion of their health insurance all the way until they pass away. And obviously, paying the health insurance for the current employees and the future retirees does create an unfunded liability, but we've planned for that. We have a full actuarial study, very similar to the unfunded liability that's created with the town's retirement system. We have a liability that we acknowledge, and it's on the town's balance sheet for those future health insurance benefits. And we have a schedule that we make payments every year, and this is a standard annual operating expense to take a portion of our free cash and devote it to retiring that unfunded liability. And over time, these funds are invested in a trust fund. We gain significant interest on those, and that will protect the town in the future from any liabilities associated with these costs. So it's a very prudent fiscal measure for the town, and it keeps our finances stable. So that's Article 1, we hope to take care of that housekeeping. Article 2 is a very interesting program that we hope to adopt. It is for a sign-on bonus program for our public safety departments. And the background here is, in recent years, it's become increasingly difficult to recruit and attract the highest quality employees that we can for the positions in public safety departments, such as police officer, paramedic, EMTs. In prior years, there were dozens and dozens of applicants for any opening. In modern times, there's far fewer applicants, and the town has to compete very strongly with all of the other communities around us, many of whom offer bonuses, sign-on bonuses for new recruits taking these positions. So we've established here, with the guidance of our select board and the public safety departments, a pilot program where we hope to design some sign-on bonuses for public safety employees that we hope to use to better recruit the best and the brightest to serve you in our community and to make sure that our public safety departments remain strong. And this is designed for $100,000 to be transferred from free cash, which we have in available funds, to operate a 3-year pilot program which will evaluate and hopefully be in a better position to have a competitive recruitment process for our public safety employees. And that's Article 2. Article 3 is back to another housekeeping item. It is an assessment from the County Retirement Association for $243,000, and this is a supplemental retirement assessment for previous early retirements that have happened in public safety departments. The town gets an annual retirement assessment, and we also get an additional supplemental assessment, and this represents the supplemental assessment. These particular funds cover us for the preceding year, and we'll have another one of these assessments that will be in the budget for this year. And so that helps keep us up with all of our retirement assessments and the unfunded liability. Again, very similar to Article 1, where we did the post-employment benefits. Article 3 is supplemental assessments for the actual retirement benefits. And then that brings us to Article 4. And Article 4 funds $55,000 from free cash to the police department for school resource officer coverage at the Dennis Yarmouth Intermediate School. As a result of cuts in the educational budget to try to meet their funding needs last year, one of the school resource officer positions was eliminated at the intermediate school, and after careful consultation with our public safety department and discussions involving the superintendent of schools, the select board decided that it was in the town's best interests to retain that additional school resource officer at the Dennis Yarmouth Intermediate School. And these funds keep that school resource officer position instead, and we'll work to try to put these funds into the next year's budget to continue that coverage. And we're going to have a robust discussion of that issue at the town meeting, and we hope you come out to support having school resource officer coverage adequately at the intermediate school. And that's going to be the discussion of Article 4. And following that, we move into Article 5, another public safety article. And Article 5 involves, it's kind of a technical element. What we're doing here is taking $40,000 to fund the police cruiser. They call them upfitting costs. Now, this is for the ancillary equipment. When you purchase a new police cruiser, you need to affix very specialized radio, computer gear, lighting, in order to make that fully functional as a police cruiser. And we have a new program where we have an ongoing lease of the cruisers. And the town has conducted an analysis, and we find that by upfront spending to cover the costs, and it's primarily labor, of making these equipment upgrades to these vehicles, it lowers the amount that the town has to lease. And all of the leased items have some interest costs associated with them. So we hope to save a couple of $1,000s a year in the interest cost by upfronting the ancillary equipment for the police cruisers. Interesting program. Thanks to the police department and Chief Lennon for suggesting it. And I looked at the numbers, and it's a real winner for the town. So that's Article 5 is for police cruiser upfitting costs. Then we move into Article 6. Article 6 is an item that you're familiar with from the annual town meeting, where we had a catastrophic failure in the emergency generator that's located at our police department. And we funded a new generator, and we also funded at the annual town meeting the rental of a generator while the new generator was on back order and being installed. We learned that the new generator was delayed another maybe 2 months. It is going to be on its way over to us. However, we need an additional $55,000 from free cash for the purpose of extending the lease period for the replacement generator until we get the new one completely installed. So that just finishes up a project that we started, and the schedule has changed a little bit, but it's on its way to being finished, and that is going to be Article 6. From there, we move to Article 7, which is some capital improvements for the golf department. And this is one of those departments during the spring, summer, fall, they're extraordinarily busy. So it's a perfect time of year that we have between November and their startup in the spring to make some much needed course improvements that will enhance the level of play and enhance the experience of all of the users of the course. Now, in this Article 7, we will be transferring $390,000, and that is all from the retained earnings in the golf revolving fund, so no regular town revenues. This is all golf revenues that are used to be reinvested to support the courses, and there are 3 projects that we hope to complete before spring starts. The first is the Bass River Clubhouse improvements at $150,000. There is also the installation of a new lightning detection system, which sounds to me like something that is pretty valuable at the golf course at $90,000, which will help detect any lightning strikes and keep our players safe out there on the courses. And the Bayberry Hills Golf Course is going to see some improvements in their entire patio area, which should be a very nice place for folks to gather. And that'll be $150,000 for a total of $390,000 for golf course improvements, again, all funded from the Golf Revolving Fund. So that would be Article 7. On Article 8, it's one of the more important articles that we face at this town meeting, and it is for the engineering of wastewater discharge. As folks all know, that we've got Phase 1 of the town's wastewater system under construction, and by 2028 that'll be completed. And what this is an additional $500,000 transferred from the wastewater retained earnings, which will assist the town in additional engineering that's required to develop the groundwater discharge sites for the treated effluent from the wastewater treatment plant. This is clean water that the nitrogen has been removed, but it is required to have a detailed engineering system to re-inject this back into the groundwater at levels that don't impact the mounding or levels of groundwater, and very complicated science that is involved with maintaining the ongoing health of all of the town's aquifers, and to engineer a system that reintroduces in a slow, methodical way this treated water back into our system to be ultimately recycled is exceedingly important. And Article 8 keeps us on our schedule to have these permits completely in place by the time we get the wastewater treatment plant up and under construction, and so we can have a smooth implementation of the program once the construction stops. And while I have an opportunity, I thank everyone in town for their patience as we move through the community with that roadway construction to install those wastewater lines. We know it's been quite an inconvenience, but it's for the betterment of our community and our future environmental needs. So thanks, folks, all for being partners in that process. And that takes us through to Article 9, which we've coupled together with another wastewater funding article. This is the Wastewater Stabilization Fund, and it is our annual planned financial article throughout the entire planning and construction phase of our wastewater system. We have a pre-funding program where, as reserves become available, we try to put at least $1.5 million a year into a pre-funding program which builds a fund that will help offset some of the initial costs of the debt service when we bring the plant up and running and start paying the debt. The result will be a smooth financial transition into owning and operating a new wastewater treatment facility with no impact on the property taxpayers. And at this particular article, we'll be transferring funds in the amount of $2 million from free cash and $1 million from the wastewater enterprise, for a total of $3 million into the Wastewater Stabilization Fund. And it's important to have that money in a stabilization fund as opposed to just sitting in the enterprise fund, because the stabilization fund enables us to invest it at higher rates of return, and now we have the power of our investments working to also offset those future costs. And that would be a very powerful tool for local residents to help avoid future costs. So we urge your approval of Article 9 at the town meeting. And then we move into another fascinating article, which is Article 10. And Article 10 seeks local funding for the Route 6A Village Center Design Fund. And the town has been working very closely with local residents in the Village Center area of Route 6A for several years now to identify some appropriate streetscape improvements that will make that area safer, provide additional parking, and also maintain the historic significance and ambiance of one of the more beautiful village centers located on Cape Cod. And the important thing to remember is Route 6A is a state highway, and very often communities lose control of the design and the look and feel of those historic areas. We've found through our leadership here in Yarmouth, by taking control of the process that does the conceptual design, involves stakeholders, local residents, and also involves our elected leadership in evaluating the most appropriate designs. If the town develops that concept, we present that to the state for inclusion into their transportation improvement program, and that way the town can control our own destiny in terms of the quality and how nice the improvements come out. And what this article does is it appropriates $110,000 from free cash to take this rough concept and put it into what's called a 25% design model. And that's the level that is sufficient for acceptance by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts into their transportation improvement program. And our goal is to design these concepts, design this program just to 25%, and hand it over so that it's accepted for the remaining 75% design and 100% of construction using state funds, but to the standards that we expect in our community. So I think that this is an article that has some very positive impacts for the town, and we hope you'll support it and continue to keep Route 6A a beautiful historic village. And from there, we move into Article 11, which is a request for $160,000 to finish up the Parkers River Boardwalk Park project by incorporating some irrigation for some of the sensitive plant materials that will be placed in the park as part of this construction. The irrigation will help lower the maintenance cost and make the plant growth more vigorous, healthy, and attractive for our community. It is a multi-million-dollar park, and this little extra investment in taking care of the expensive plant materials that we place in there, I think will have great benefits and be very noticeable for the town and its beautification. And that is Article 11. And Article 12, another fascinating article, involves funds of $50,000 that we seek to transfer to an account for PFAS groundwater contamination analysis. Now, this is a new step for the town of Yarmouth, that we've spent a great deal of energy, time, and money in studying the impacts of PFAS on our water supply wells. We do daily testing and ensure that we have clean water that is healthy for local residents. And that work will continue and be ongoing. But here in Yarmouth, we're faced with some very serious point source PFAS groundwater pollution that's emanating from a couple of points that are on the Barnstable side of West Yarmouth, most notably Cape Cod Gateway Airport, the former Barnstable County Fire Training Facility. And we know these plumes are entering our community through West Yarmouth. They're heavily involved in the whole Mill Creek wetlands complex. And what these funds will enable us to do is expand our groundwater contamination modeling beyond just the water supply wells and determine any potential ecological impacts of PFAS contamination and potential health risks that are involved with having PFAS in normal groundwater, in the water that folks swim in, that involves fishing, shell fishing, and to get a better handle on the extent of PFAS contamination in our environment and any potential risks to local residents. And by this funding, we will be better able to characterize and try to direct the efforts made by these agencies and the Department of Environmental Protection to better clean up and to better manage the impacts of this pollution on the town of Yarmouth. So it's another leadership move to ensure that Yarmouth has all of the data that we need to successfully advocate on our own behalfs for the cleanup of PFAS contamination that's in our area. And that would be Article 12. We hope very much that passes. That's another, seems like a small item, but it's key to some of the future initiatives of our community. And the remaining two articles, 13 and 14, are zoning amendments that will be presented by the Planning Board and discussed at length. The first one is Article 13, which relates to payments in lieu of providing affordable housing units here in our community. And the operating issue here is if a developer comes in and makes a housing development, under the zoning, there are a certain number of affordable housing units that must also be provided. Now, zoning also provides that in lieu of providing the actual housing units, a cash payment can be made to the town that would go into the affordable housing funds, and the town can be responsible for using those to develop the affordable housing opportunities that would otherwise have been developed by the developer of the housing property. Now, that is an existing part of the town zoning, and Article 13 seeks to update that language. Since the original language was adopted, the cost of housing has really skyrocketed, and it's tremendously different than the model that provided the calculation of the in lieu of payment. And what Article 13 does is it modernizes that calculation to be based on the median home price in our community In that way, we're assured that the funds that are paid in lieu of providing these affordable housing units will be sufficient to allow the town to actually take some action to increase affordable housing units. So that is an important zoning amendment in Article 13. And Article 14 is our final article of the special town meeting. And what this does is it deals with a 15% limit on seasonal employee housing in any motels or hotels that are part of the town's seasonal hotel motel zone, which is primarily the southern tier, South Shore Drive of the community. And there were some loopholes in, they call it the HMOD2, the Hotel Motel Overlay District 2. Some loopholes that didn't apply that standard consistently, and what this bylaw seeks to do is to develop that standard that there will be a limit of 15% seasonal housing at motels and hotels in that area, even through a variance of the zoning board, just to maintain that ratio of seasonal employee housing to motel units. And another cleanup item in the town zoning, and that's the total of our 14 articles. And with that, we'll be done with the first town meeting. And again, I remind folks on Saturday, December 7, our normal polling hours will be open for a special election for the select board position here in town, and an additional town meeting Monday, December 9, 2024 at 6 p.m. at the intermediate school. And this town meeting will be Tuesday, November 19, 2024 at the intermediate school on Station Avenue. Any questions, please contact the town's website, which is easy to find, or contact me directly. You can call me up at Town Hall or email me at rritenour, which is rwhritenor at yarmouth.ma.us. Thank you very much, and I'll see you at town meeting.